So today we're going to throw two of arguably the most powerful characters in all of comics head to head. Dr. Manhattan versus Phoenix. So let's dive right on in. Dr. Jon Osterman was a lowly lab technician before he was caught in a radioactive particle test. He returned as a godlike superhuman. He is powerful and highly intelligent, yet he grew to become emotionally distant towards people. He is the only superhero of powers in the Watchmen storyline. Dr. Manhattan seems to have mastery over the manipulation of matter and energies around him, as well as an understanding of their makeup on the most fundamental level. However, the limits of this power are really rather unknown. He's been shown to be able to build a fortress around Mars, create small amounts of water and milk, and melt a portion of a tank. It's also been said that he can turn a gun into steam, bullets to mercury, and a bottle into a snowflake, but we've never actually seen him do this. He has complete control over his physical body as well, which allowed him to piece himself back together after the accident. Manhattan also has a unique perspective on time, as he's seemingly able to perceive basically all the events that have occurred in his life at the same time. However, some events are blurry or distorted until he actually becomes closer to these events in real time. Even though he can perceive what will happen, he's actually unable to alter many of the events of the past or the future, being enslaved to predetermination. Dr. Manhattan is able to blow people's heads off, disintegrate opponents, reform his body, manipulate his size to grow very large, is able to levitate, phase through objects, and teleport all the way from Earth to Mars. He also has superhuman strength, can create copies of himself that operate independently, but all under one conscious. And he doesn't appear to age, and doesn't need food, water, or air, and can even create environmental fields. It's been stated that he could destroy large areas of Soviet territory, although it never really states how large these areas actually are. It was also said that if the USSR ever launched a full-scale nuclear assault, he was capable of disarming at least 60% of incoming missiles from Soviet bases before they reached their intended targets. Manhattan himself has stated that he might make human life, and he's backed up this claim by showing that he actually is capable of creating life. As if all this wasn't enough, Dr. Manhattan was the one responsible for creating the New 52 universe by removing 10 years from the corrupted Flashpoint universe, thus creating the New 52, where everyone was 10 years younger than they should have been. It's also worth mentioning that because of his unique view of time, energy, and matter, Dr. Manhattan doesn't look at human life in the same way normal people do. He may even be incapable of normal human emotions, as he never really shows any emotional traits. And in the other corner we have Phoenix. Phoenix is a powerful cosmic entity, and is an immortal being representing all current and future life. It has, at times, chosen a host to live within, granting the vessel outstanding power. The Phoenix has had various hosts, but the most well-known and frequent host is the mortal mutant Jean Grey. While she's not a normal mutant, she's actually an Omega-level mutant, but that's not the point. Anyways, we will be using Jean Grey as the host for the Phoenix in this fight. Now, the Phoenix Force is one of the most powerful forces in the universe, and is capable of wielding its power in a variety of different ways. It can fire immensely strong blast of concussive force. It can also absorb many different types of energy, ranging from someone's life force to the energy of a whole star. It can travel anywhere in time and space by collapsing itself from the inside, much like a black hole, and then reforming itself at the destination. The Phoenix Force has power over life and death itself. It can use this power to resurrect others. Since it's the source of all psionic energy, it has vast telepathic and telekinetic powers, and is always searching for a host that is strong enough to handle these powers. When the Phoenix Force does enter a host, it amplifies the basic abilities that the host innately has. When Jean was empowered by the Phoenix Force, she had total control over all matter on the subatomic scale, to the point where she can manipulate the entire universe. She can exist in any environment without harm, and can create space-time warps to travel through hyperspace or traverse the time stream with ease. Jean is also capable of manipulating and creating new separate timelines. She can resurrect the dead and absorb the life force from other beings to bolster its own. Now, the Phoenix Force amplifies its host abilities, and so it augmented Jean's psychic abilities to a nearly infinite level. In fact, they're so enhanced that her psychic attacks are actually visible in the physical world. So who wins this fight? Well, let's break it down. Now here's the thing about this particular fight. Both of these characters are insanely powerful, to the point where they could be considered gods in their respective universes. They also have similar powers, well, to some extent, and these powers are really vaguely defined. Now, Dr. Manhattan has loads of different abilities, like being able to disintegrate opponents at will, able to increase his size and mass to huge proportions, he's able to levitate, phase through objects, teleport, and he can even create copies of himself that operate independently, but still under one conscience. Manhattan is also a master of matter and energy manipulation, as he's been able to create a crystalline structure on Mars, melt a portion of a tank, and it's been said that he can turn a gun into steam or bullets into mercury. But even though he's a powerful matter manipulator, Dr. Manhattan still has limits. This is seen when it was said that he was only capable of disarming 60% of incoming missiles from Soviet bases before they would reach their targets. On the other hand, Jean Grey is empowered by the Phoenix Force, so really, depending on how much power the Force is allocated to her, she basically has unlimited potential. Phoenix has total control over all matter on the subatomic scale, to the point where she can manipulate the entire universe, which is a whole level above Dr. Manhattan. She can also fire insanely strong concussive blasts, and can actually absorb lots of different kinds of energy as well, ranging from someone's life force to the energy of a star. She can travel anywhere by creating space-time warps in order to travel through hyperspace, and can also traverse the time stream. On top of all that, Jean was already one of the most powerful telepaths on Earth, and now that he's even further enhanced. Now I would say that this is all leaning in Phoenix's favor, but then we have to take into account that the fact that Dr. Manhattan can manipulate the time stream. We don't really know the full extent of this power, and we do know that there are limits, but we've also seen him remove 10 years from a damaged time stream and create the New 52 universe. So in theory, he can manipulate the time stream or move years so that Jean Grey was never born. But he might not even be able to do that, because there are unknown limits to this power. Plus, Phoenix has the ability to manipulate and create new separate timelines as well, so she could do the same thing to Dr. Manhattan. So those two kind of balance each other out, and it's a wash. Now the difficult thing is, Dr. Manhattan is essentially the only true superpowered being in his universe. So he's never gone up against someone of Phoenix's caliber before, so we don't truly know how he'll fare. On the other hand, Phoenix has consistently gone up against incredibly powerful beings before and taken them out. On top of that, Jean has her powerful telepathic abilities, and since Manhattan has never gone up against another telepath before, we can assume that he has no defenses against psychic attacks, because, well, he's never needed any. So while Dr. Manhattan might be able to reform himself from a strong concussive blast, odds are he won't really have any defense against psychic attacks. So who wins? Well, Dr. Manhattan is incredibly powerful. The fact that he's the only superpowered being in his universe puts him at a real disadvantage here. Because you see, Phoenix has countless feats that prove that she can take down powerful entities and beings. But Dr. Manhattan has no true feats that prove he can take down someone at Jean's level. And because of that, I have to give the victory to Phoenix. But what do y'all think? I would love to hear your thoughts, so sound off down in the comments down below. And if you have any ideas for future videos, sound off down there too. And finally, be sure, please hit that subscribe button for more videos just like this one every single week.